Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes a little bit more sense, though. But I also noticed in our earlier discussions that you mentioned many of them are really highly trained, like paramilitary or even maybe former police.
Yeah, that doesn't go across the board, but there are instances of many having paramilitary or law enforcement backgrounds that come up here and conduct the activities.
Yeah. And again, I know you can't comment on that, but when I think of that, I think that doesn't look like the guy who I saw on the doorbell cam at Nancy Guthrie's house because he looked like a bungling fool. He certainly didn't look like he knew what he was doing or had a plan in place. He looked like he was searching around for a plan as he was going. But and like you said, it's not across the board, so there can be discrepancies in these types. You mentioned that they typically, target Indian and Chinese because of the high number of cash and jewelry that typically these folks might have. But do they also just typically target high-end homes and they may not know what's inside?
Yes, it's affluent neighborhoods. Here in Georgia, there have been a number of Satg break-ins and arrests, upwards of $600,000 worth of material being stolen from one particular residence. It's very common.
Well, there was this big Houston cluster too. 60 burglaries in Houston, Texas a couple weeks ago?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Very
and
sensitive.
then the brazenness. And I think about the brazenness again. I think of everything right now as with the prism of Nancy Guthrie's case, but the brazenness of Satg is that they'll go into homes like of Joe Burrows of the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, the risk factor is huge, and it didn't seem to matter. Talk about the risk factor when it comes to Satg folks.
Well, again, typically the targeted residents are not known to have firearms, not known to do a lot beyond just technical surveillance or technical burglar alarms, things like that. Some of the NFL players, I know that's been very extensive, and I know the NFL is doing a good job teaching their players about these sorts of thefts when they travel, because they're gone for a long time, and it kind of makes a unique opportunity for them. So it does go to hire a house sitter or something like that to watch some of their stuff. But that was very recent. The three out of Cincinnati broke into that house and were eventually.
Honestly, I would have always assumed that some high-rolling NFLers got some kind of person back at the home when he travels. They got a lot of money, and they could have house managers or staff of some kind. So I was really surprised that they would take that much of a risk. But what about the surveillance? Like, what kind of surveillance does Satg, network folks typically employ?
It's typically physical surveillance. So that means someone's there looking. In a neighborhood near where I live, there are walking paths, and so they'll park in one area and walk through the neighborhood, basically through a circuitous route, to be able to go through the neighborhood and get into the forests that are behind these houses, and they'll set up back there and just watch for a while.